Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Three Idiots Talk Aquariums podcast. We thank you very much for tuning into today's episode, and we really appreciate the support we've been getting. If you have any specific topics or subjects or whatever that you'd like us to cover, make sure to drop them down in the comments below, and we read all the comments, so it'll get to us, and we'll chuck it on the list of future episodes if we want. So yeah, look forward
And
to it. But
we can't just have Cam's imaginary people determining everything. So we need some real people to tell us what to do.
all right, sounds good.
Yeah.
We probably need to set up a little filter or something to filter out all the bots.
Yeah, the Cams.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
But yeah. So what have you guys been going on in your fish rooms recently, or shops and that? Have you had any interesting stuff going on? Anyone?
Am I going first?
You go first.
Sure.
He's handing me the talking stick. I've had lots of exciting stuff happen in the last week, which is exciting, believe it or not. I had a couple of pallets of aquariums turn up to finish the corner of my in-house quarantine setup. So that hopefully will be done in about 2 weeks' time. So about the time that this is released, that should be up and running, which I'm happy about. So that was one.
Sorry, just on that, you were saying that the problem was that you didn't have enough quarantine space to essentially quarantine enough fish to keep up with demand, right? And you didn't want to shortcut stuff by not quarantining because you're still getting losses on new fish and you don't want to pass that on to customers. But you're finding as soon as you release them, they sold. And then you're like, what do I do now for the next 2 weeks? You know?
Yeah.
So
I found that the 2 weeks that I hold the fish in store in the back here for was creating a bit of a bottleneck from having them in and then releasing them, and then like after they're released within about 3 or 4 days we're sold out of a lot of stuff again. So to try and combat that, I've extended the amount of quarantine tanks we've got, so hopefully it rolls a little bit better, and I'll be able to order fish pretty much every week from my wholesalers. So every week we should be able to be releasing fish. And we'll just use neons, for example. If for some reason I've ordered 30 in 1 week, 30 in the next, and 30 the week after, and we don't quite sell that many, I'll just be able to store them out the back for when the shop sales tanks run out. We can then just continue to push them through and filter them through.
and if you got them sitting there, then you just won't order more, you know.
Correct. Yeah.
So
right.
It's not a big deal. But you got to have while we don't like to think of fish as stock on shelves, you do have to actually have fish in stock when you're a fish store and you're trying to sell them.
Yeah, of course. Sure. Yeah.
You don't want to shortcut it by just selling stuff that's not up to the standard.
Yeah, and that wasn't an option. So I felt that I was doing people a disservice by not having things in stock on a regular basis because they were selling out too quickly. Like, I'll just use neons again, for example. 3 people said, I'll light some neons, and then the day they get released, they're all gone, and then 2 people miss out and get disappointed. So I needed to work out a way of hopefully combating that, and I think I'm hoping that this will do that.
Certainly won't hurt, at least.
I saw some good videos you put up too about your quarantine system and stuff, which is actually pretty good education for people.
Yeah,
this week as well. So that was interesting. I watched them. 20 neons down to 8. It doesn't sound like a very good success rate so far, but yeah.
No, not with this lot. So I haven't checked it this morning to see where I've lost any more or not. But last night, or the night before, sorry, we didn't lose any. So fingers crossed that whatever was happening has stopped happening because I couldn't identify it. There was nothing externally on them. They looked absolutely fine. They were just dying like crazy. So
could be stress.
That's always the worst when stuff just drops off for no apparent reason.
Horrible. Just can't. It's like, just give me a sign of something so I can try and identify it.
Yeah,
and it's the most frustrating thing to try and help people with online too. When they post, and usually it's a like a, how do we say it? A bulk produced cheaper fish that they're having issues with, and sometimes they just die. And then people are like, "Oh, what's your parameters? Maybe you should worm your fish. Maybe you should do this. Oh, when I did this, I added this and did this." And it's just the realistic thing is probably just they were just stressed and died, or sick and died, and just weak from for whatever reason, and just died, because a lot of these fish do seem to just drop dead for no reason. Once you get some good ones and they're going, it's all good. But
yeah, the whole worming everything is beginning to, I don't know, become a bit of a pandemic within the fish keeping community. Like, why are you worming if there's no signs of it? Like, you've got inflamed gills, or I don't know, clamped fins, or what have you. So that's you've got some signs, but it's not necessarily that you need to chuck a worming treatment in there.
Yeah. The problem is that I think most people want to do the best thing for their fish, so that's a good thing. So they're very easily convinced or sold to just add stuff to try and fix things or make things better. And it's good. It's a good place to come from. But I think people come from it without a lot of logic, and they treat them like cats and dogs.
Yes. Yeah.
But
cats and dogs. We had a listener on, well, like a viewer on YouTube, write this big thing about, because they knew about horses and ponies and all that kind of thing, and they wrote this big thing about how there used to be this big movement to, like, I can't remember what it was, like maybe every 3 months or something, worm your horses.
That's what I did when we had horses.
Yeah, and then she was saying that now they're finding that heaps of them are just like non-effective anymore, because it's just like all the parasites and that have been so exposed to it for, like, she was saying, I think since like the 80s, that like now it's like, the superbugs. It's like now you worm them when there is a worm and it doesn't actually do anything. It's just like the worm just carries on doing what it was doing.
And for
so
a
obviously
horse,
that's the danger.
Yeah, for a horse, the best way to do it would be to take a sample into the vets and say, can you guys do this?
What do
and
you
just
see?
prescribe me the right thing.
Yeah.
And then you're probably saving money, and you're also, more importantly, just not pumping crap into your tank you don't need. Because also
exactly.
the problem with worming a fish is it's not easy. You don't just chuck something in the tank and the fish are wormed. There's so many different worms. There's so many different medications. And there's so much conflicting information, Even some of the pet stores that are selling it with the wrong dosages on it, and the wrong regimes, and the wrong, and it's so yeah, some of the people are just half dosed. I saw something else. Someone said, "Oh, I just put it in my food." Well, how much do you put in your food? How do you figure out how that dosage gets to the right fish? How do you figure out what your fish weighs to get in the correct oral dosage? It goes on and on and on. So, yeah, interesting. And most skinny fish I found are not full of worms. They're full of other stuff. So, yeah. But anyway.
Because you had those ones cut open and analyzed in that lab with microscopes and all that kind of thing to see what was going on,
Yeah, I paid $700 or something for 3 fish to get chopped up. Yeah, just to learn, to try and understand.
And they basically said nothing's going on.
They basically said, "Oh, it's some sort of bacterial thing that lives in all the tanks," and I did Googling and it said improving filtration. So I chucked more filters in all the tanks, and it seems to have alleviated it. It's just stress more than anything, I think.
Stress is a huge thing with fish that we just downplay so much.
Applies to like everything,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was what it caused it. But anyway, should we actually get on to today's topic? I haven't had a lot of exciting out of the fish room. Just been ticking away. I may even sneak out there after this and do a little bit of maintenance and swap some things around. I need to get some things sorted.
Tidy up the stuff off the floor, right?
Now just tidy up the fish in the tanks.
Do some
move
sorting.
stuff around. Yeah.
Sounds
grade
like
some
fun.
stuff and figure it out. Yeah.
Oh, sounds good. So sorry, something just went in my eye. The main sort of subject for today is we're going to be talking about the our favorite pairs or combos of fish. So things that's like the fish on their own are cool, but then when you have these two species together, it really just takes everything to that next level and really brings out the best of both of them. I think it's something that is really sort of important and cool to think about, but doesn't necessarily get thought about as much as it's just the individual fish themselves. So I don't know if you want to go first, Ryan. I think you had a suggestion you mentioned before we started, so go ahead.
My suggestion that I said before we started was not appropriate, so I won't even mention that one. But anyway, I've got another one. I was thinking the classic African blue and yellow Mambuna mix. You can do Demisones in yellows or Mapunga in yellows. Same thing. Same sort of thing. Just get a nice
So
blue
they're
and yellow
like
combo.
So the yellows is just like a plain yellow, well, like a
You could do a
even
yellow or a white
body.
lab, or you could do a
Yeah.
yellow or a white lab. But then you get a bright blue, and other sort of black contrast. Decent lighting, and then some nice yellow. A lot of people think it's a saltwater tank because of the bright colours and the activity and stuff. You do need to. The biggest consideration with it, of course, is you've just got to make sure you've got a reasonable sized tank, and you're also doing decent numbers of fish and feeding a veggie-based food.
Yeah. So it's I think the best part about that combo is it's very sort of easy. It's very beginner friendly and like very easy. Like it's not so much a lot of times when it comes to Mbuna, people worried about like aggression and that, but yellows and Mpanga and like the Dems less so, but if you keep a good sized group of them, they'll be fine. Like the aggression's a lot more manageable, and you can just it sort of lets you dip your toe in slowly into the African world without having to go too hard out, basically.
Yeah, I'd say you can't really dip your toes in slowly with it, because you do have to, like, you can't just get one dim and one yellow. You do have to go all in. And that's where most people have the problems with them, is they don't buy enough. Or their tank's too small.
Do you know what I like as an addition to them? If your tank's big enough, is a small group of snow whites. I think the white, I know we're doing combos, but I always thought that the white contrasts really well with the blue and the yellow in a group as well.
Well, a Macca's combo does have chips, a burger, and a drink. So, like combo. Yeah. Sometimes you guys with two burgers. But yeah, I do agree that Ed Cam and I have done we did a lot of those albino zebras, which are very similar to a snow white. So you get a bit of pink in there too. Yeah. The only concern with that is if you start adding your zebras, then your yellows and your zebras can crossbreed. Of course, a dim and a yellow can crossbreed, but it's not very likely, and I've never seen it. Doesn't say it won't happen, but it's very unlikely. But your metroclima and your yellows are likely to breed and are a common cross in the hobby. So they will look cool together, but you'd have to monitor that aspect of it because fry will survive in there. That's another cool thing about these tanks is if you put lots of rock work in there, you'll always have babies cruising around in the rocks, and that's cool. Really good for kids. The kids love spotting them.
I have a few customers and stuff who've got those similar, not necessarily that, but like combos where there's like stuff that will crossbreed and make hybrids. And something easy that they do is just like whenever they spot something holding, just like catch them out and strip the eggs out and just like feed the eggs to something else or whatever. And it's not like it's not like something like a guppy where it's sort of, I'm going to say, unmanageable. If you did want to sort of manage it a bit more actively, it is a little bit easier. To manage. Like basically, if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, it's like these fish, what's called mouth brooders. Like they hold the eggs in their mouth, But what I'm saying is like people just catch the fish while they have their eggs in their mouth and like open the mouth and then get the eggs out and then they are basically, before they hatch and everything, and then they're just like fish food that can go to anything else basically. Because oftentimes I find people with an African tank never have one tank. So, they got other stuff floating around that needs food, or like, you can feed them a little bit of protein every now and then.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they'll be fine with that. But yeah, it's just a consideration. Otherwise, you can just let nature take its course, but you do need to be aware that if they may be breeding pure, and you'll quite quickly tell if a yellow or a Demasoni's bred together, because we're looking at these babies going, what the hang are those? Same with an albino zebra and a yellow. It'll be like, that's a bit weird. So you could strip your tank down every year and remove the weird ones and go and not take them into Cam's shop and get rid of them. He gets tanks full of the assorted ones already from other shops.
Well, I think he's frozen.
He's just frozen. He's got a big smile on his face. He's thinking about going to the toilet at the end of the show already. So
Shall we continue with the show then?
Well, we're pretty much done. We've talked about Africans, so that's it.
Okay.
There's nothing else we're talking about. It's done. That's the best combo.
Should we go home?
Would you like fries with that?
I'm going to go with the absolutely classic cliche of discus and cardinals. And I'm doing this first purely because if someone else comes out with it, it really shortens my list, so I'm not quite sure what else to put into it.
Of course, I'm not the biggest discus fan. I think they're really cool fish, but that doesn't take away from the combo that you're saying. I think they're really cool fish, but you do have to do them right, again, like Africans. But you can't beat a tank with some of them are like, you can go for the oranges and the reds and the turquoises and all that stuff and get a real blingy tank, but you can also get those real cool wild ones, hey, and they're just a real subtle badass fish,
Yeah.
And when they get real big, those greens and those browns and stuff just look awesome, man. Put some dumb plants in there or something and just make a real cool tank.
He's back.
Hey, that was quick.
Yeah, that's what she said.
What?
I'm equally not a huge fan of discus, but that is a classic combo that works ridiculously well.
We're just talking discus. Yeah, he's back. He's gone. He's there.
Wait, I'm back. I don't know what's going on.
We're just talking discus and cardinals.
Why?
Because it's my pick next.
It is a good combo. You can probably do discus and rummy nose too. Actually, that's a rather good combo.
Did you have discus and cardinals on the list?
I actually do have. Oh wait, do they have cardinals? I have a client that's got. Oh no, yeah, they do. I've got a client that's got discus and cardinals, and like especially non-fish people seem to love it. Like it's a really striking combo. But
you get this.
If people are aware, I'm not a discus guy.
And that tank was an absolute nightmare, wasn't it?
Actually, no, that's a different tank. But yes, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. But the only thing I was going to say is, so obviously not being a discus guy, I haven't done it a lot. But have you run into issues with the discus eating the cardinals / rummy nose?
I know it's a potential chance, but I haven't run into that. No.
Discus can't eat anything, are they? They're just round dumbfish.
Well, I don't know. I've heard people, obviously talking to people, I've heard a lot of like when they get big, just like picking off little cardinals and rummy noses and stuff. Not like polishing them off kind of thing, but like just picking them off over the course of like 6 months or something like that. Yeah. But I don't have any hands-on experience to sort of rely on there, but that is something I've heard. So yeah.
No, I would think a discus isn't really a big, mean, predatory fish. They'll obviously opportunist eat anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'd say the rummy nose are probably getting sick and slow, or the cardinals getting sick and slow, because you wouldn't think they would they'd be able to pick them off. But
I think it's more like, when a cardinal swims past its head, and then it just like grabs it, kind of thing,
Is it?
rather than
Cool.
like the disc is like going and hunting them out.
Yeah, and I guess anything that'll fit in anything's mouth is pretty much fair game.
That's what she said.
At
Okay,
least I
we
put
should
it in the
stop doing
chat
that.
anyway.
We should stop doing that.
Is that the theme of the day? Is it?
I don't know. I mean, we've been doing it since yesterday, so I guess so.
Yeah.
But the good thing with discus is like pretty much any color you can think of. Some has stripes, some has spots. You know, you can get a lot of variation within that, and then like the smaller cardinals kind of just like accents that nicely. It's like a bit of a it's a combo within a combo, so it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah. I don't
The
like discus,
slow
but
moving.
yeah, if you're going to keep them,
You
It's a-
get
it
the
is a good
slow,
idea.
more docile discus with the more flashy, faster cardinals, which is what I think a lot of the appeal is as well.
And the other thing is the cardinals would work as a dither for the discus, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
yeah,
Which
definitely.
basically,
They're quite shy.
if you're not aware, basically little fish, like generally little active fish, will make more sort of placid or like skittish fish calm, because if those fish aren't getting eaten, they know they won't get eaten, so they'll be more out and about. So that's kind of what I was saying there.
Cool.
So yeah. All right, my
Yeah.
turn.
Combo.
All right, so my next combo is like the honey gouramis, but particularly like the yellow ones or like the sunset ones. Them and platies, I think, is a really good combo, particularly for like if you're like a beginner or like if you've got a bit of a smaller tank or particularly in like a planted tank or something like that, because like basically they're both pretty much bulletproof. They're very easy to look after, but it's the way I think of it is it's like just like a explosion of color. So like, you know, if you have platies, you can get like a yellow one, an orange one, like a blue one, and you know, all these mixed colors, and then you got this nice little less zippy but more like kind of personality wise better little honey gourami that kind of like blobs along as like the, I guess, boss of the group, or like the, you know, the supervisor, and then all these crazy platies shooting all over the place. You get obviously the platies breeding all the time, which is good, particularly for like beginners and kids. Everyone loves them. Better than guppies, where like if your platies are breeding, you'll always be able to sell platies, and like you're not gonna, you know, people will want platies, whereas you'll get swamped with guppies no one will want. The other things like platies will help, like they'll polish off a bit of algae and stuff, so it's like a bit of a added bonus. If it's like your first tank, for example, maybe it's like a 50-liter like first tank for you, so that's just something that they'll just handle and you won't have to worry about, but it's like an added bonus. So yeah, that's probably all my reasons why, but I just think that'll be such a cool little combo for you if you're particularly a beginner, but it's one that, like, you know, anyone would enjoy. Like, I'm not probably obviously the biggest community fish guy personally, but that's one that, like, in my, you know, living room or whatever, I'd love to have a tank like that. Just heaps of plants, like fun, easy, colorful. What more could you want?
And the honey gouramis, gourami? I don't know how to say it. That's right. Someone else also watched our African one and commented on how you said Demisoni like 6 different times during it and sounded like you were struggling. So that's also more feedback. Anyway,
that was just Cam's fake account bullying me.
Yeah,
because he's lashing out about the Warriors.
Yeah, well, I mean, Warriors fans do need to lash out at everyone in the world because they've got not a lot going on for them. So,
man,
but anyway,
I don't need to think about them right now.
But anyway, it's good to bring that back and beat them down a little bit.
Just remind them, yeah.
But the honey gourami, whatever, is
close enough.
Gourami. They're pretty cool fish because they're also not. I wouldn't say they're not a shit fish like most of the other gouramis are, like, or the dwarf gouramis anyway. The neon blues and stuff, they just drop dead. At least the honeys are quite strong, they're vibrant, and we can get a couple of different strains of them. They're also relatively commonly NZ bred. Like they're not uncommon for people to breed them and sell them. So you might find some real good ones. And the platies, you can get whatever color you want. Well, not whatever color you want, but a lot of different color varieties.
Pretty close to it, honestly.
So it does open up that, if I want to keep a platy with it, I don't have to keep an orange one. You can keep, different colors and stuff. I don't know what the colors are. There's blues and reds and yellows and all sorts of them, sunset ones. And they're just cool fish.
Yeah.
And they're relatively strong too.
Yep, exactly. The other good thing with the honey gouramis that you mentioned is like the personality. Like I used to, because they were like one of the first fish I had like a trio, and the male, every time I used to walk past the tank, he'd just like spit water at me, like asking to be fed and stuff. And it's like that fun little interaction is so like such a cool little sort of added bonus for them. It really is cool. So yeah.
Agreed. And that's good for a smaller tank too, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a bit better than a better, I think, like a better option wise, because they're a bit more robust and a little like cheaper and just something a little bit different as well. Like a lot of people have a better, not everyone has a honey gourami, so win-win.
Yeah, the better we had in Kim's classroom caused a few problems. It died, and
Classic.
she found it in the morning, had to remove it, and then tell the kids that it got sick, and we took it home to look after it. And so they're always asking about it.
So hopefully they're not listening to the podcast then.
I don't think the kids are listening somehow.
No,
especially
never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's Ryan's turn next.
My turn
big
next.
Puppy.
I am going to go for a bigger tank. You can have peacocks and peacocks.
Doesn't
and
count.
Haps. So we'll say peacocks and haps. Okay.
I don't know about that. That seems like a bit of a loophole.
It's a good combo.
It is a good combo, but I don't know if it fits the criteria. You have to choose a particular peacock and a particular hap, or like two particular peacocks.
All of them. I'm going to go with then OB peacocks and dragon's blood peacocks. Okay.
That's a good
because overseas I've seen some really cool tanks, and actually in New Zealand I've seen some cool tanks too with just those two fish in it. And the cool thing with the OBs is you can get just a range of colors for them. So
same as what we're saying about the platies.
Yeah, and same with the dragon's bloods. But you also can get just oranges, yellows, reds, that sort of thing in both of them, and blues, all that sort of stuff. And you just basically create a wall of cool fish. So
it's just like a wall of color.
Yeah.
I always think the way I always describe it to people is like, just imagine someone just got like a whole bunch of paint and just like yeeted it at a wall and then made those into fish. Like that would be pretty much an OB peacock, It's like you get like yellows and blues and like reds and even ones that I quite like that no one else seems to like is the one you get ones that are like low quality, but the ones that have like just a few spots. So like OB peacocks have like spots.
Get them off me because I've got heaps of the bloody things.
I did get some. I mean, well, I like them, but that doesn't mean everyone else liked them. But I think those are quite cool. It's something like a little bit different in the tank. But
no, I agree. And the variation in them, cool. I saw a guy's tank here. He had them probably pushing 17, 18 centimeters. OBs, big ones. They were like bigger than your hands, and they were just massive things. And they were quite impressive. And the color coming through on them was pretty phenomenal. I actually bought some OBs off them just to see if they grow up the same.
No, time will tell, eh?
Yeah.
The coolest thing about them, I reckon, as well, is like, I mean, it's not specifically OBs and dragon's bloods and stuff, but like feeding them, is just so much fun because it's like genuinely like a bunch of piranhas just like shooting around. Like even if it's just like pellets dropping down, they're just like grabbing them all. So like because oftentimes when kids and stuff come into the shop, we just chuck a little scoop of pellets in, and it's like there's water going all over the place and like fish going all over the place and everything. It's like it's really great fun. Plus, then they got the cool colors, so it's like a win-win situation.
And the cool thing about an OB too, the easy thing about an OB is that you can take a male OB and breed it with any, even just a random hybrid peacock female, and you'll still get OBs out. You'll get some randoms out that you should probably cull that aren't OB, but you'll get OBs out and you could get cool stuff and you could get that. So it's really easy for a beginner to breed. You don't have to worry about trying to source the right female and the right male to get pure fish.
Because an OB is a domestic fish, like a hybrid. So.
OB is a hybrid anyway, so you're just going to create a hybrid. Yes, there are. I mean, there's obviously quality you've got to look at. You don't want to produce a whole tank full of rubbish fish, but I've got one of my red OBs at the moment, and with my German red females to try and produce more red OBs.
And the thing is as well that we're saying is like because there's no standard, quality for an OB. Like most people would say the ones with like very few spots would be low quality, but like I was just saying that I quite like them. So it's like just personal taste. Like some people like the blue ones. Some people like ones with heaps of spots. Some people like ones with like no like a couple spots. It's just like doesn't really matter so much like as much as like when you're talking about like a wild type fish. It's just whatever you like, basically.
Yeah, so they're a good thing for someone to they can actually play with. They can create some stuff, and have some fun. So yeah,
exactly.
So that's why I'll go with that.
That's a good choice. I'll allow it.
Cool.
I think it's a dumb choice, but we'll stick with that.
You can see Cam the whole time just festering, like still thinking about the Warriors, probably just like, oh, so grumpy.
Yeah. OBs and Dragon Blood.
Yeah. But I mean, he's a Warriors fan, so he's pretty much a loser by definition. So that's all right.
Vicious. All right, what do you got, Cam?
Just the heavy breathing right now is what I've got. Coolie loaches and chocolate gouramis in a crypt planted tank with lots of wood hanging around. I think they're fantastic.
With lots of what hanging around? Wood.
Lots of like wood tangles and stuff like that.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, I think the chocolates really come into their own when they've got lots of vertical stuff to sort of swim through as opposed to around, if that makes sense.
So you're doing more of a Blackwater subtle type combo.
Yeah. And then like both coolies and chocolates prefer slightly dimmer light and more subtle and quiet type aquarium. So the coolies come out a lot more when they're in that situation. They both work really well with very similar water parameters, very similar feeding requirements. Neither of them go into each other's sort of territories and get in the way of each other. I just think that's a phenomenal combination that I've previously done before, and I've really enjoyed it. Can do it in a 2-foot tank quite easily.
So that's something that I never would have even really considered. But ever since we had our podcast on the Blackwater, our podcast about Blackwater aquariums, I've been like, man, maybe I should actually do that. Because, like, particularly coolie loaches, like, that seems so cool. Because I've seen, I don't know where I saw it. I think it was, like, on Instagram or something, like, a tank that had, like, some leaf litter, and then the coolie loaches, like, weaving between the, bits of the leaves. And, like, you can see why they have that pattern. Like, it looks so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, it's just, like, because I feel like with that kind of tank, it would be, like, the chocolate gouramis, like, kind of almost accenting the coolie loaches,
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have something like a crypt Balancy or something, I guess, that's a bit more up, and then they weave in between it, and it'll be like that. Actually sounds real cool. Like, I might have to see what I can do.
Do you see
and Ephenis in my combo?
Would you see the coolie loaches? I've never kept them myself, and they always seem to hide.
They come out a heck of a lot more when they're given what they want, like a real subtly lit tank. Subtly lit, is that a word? Anyway, subtle lighting, black water leaf,
So they would just come out for food, would they? You feed them, and then or they'd just be cruising around.
See them foraging and stuff like that all the time.
They bury themselves too, eh?
I don't know if they bury themselves.
They
dig in weird places.
Not so much. They kind of like jam themselves in cracks and stuff that I guess gets filled in once they get in, but not intentionally. I also find like with Kululoches, like they're one that I think a bigger group is much better. Like obviously it's like if there's more, you'll probably see more like regularly. Like there's that, but it's more like if there's more, like the whole group will be out more often. And what they do is like kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but like if you're watching, I'll do it with my hands. They like kind of weave in between each other and like go like this all on top of each other, like a little like
a
spaghetti junction kind of thing. Which is really like, I'm gonna say cool, understanding that a lot of people find that gross, but like, you know, they'll be out and about a lot more. So yeah, I think like personally, if I was gonna keep them you know, in a personal tank, I'd probably do like 12 plus just to get the most out of them. But like understanding, like if you have a few, like if you have like 5 or 6, they'll be fine and you'll see them, but not as much and not as active. But I think that is a very good combo, what you've just said there.
It's very cool.
So yeah, I like it. My next one is, so this one, obviously, you want a big tank, but I was thinking, I think like an Oscar, and particularly a red tiger Oscar. So that's like the one with like the black body with like the red kind of stripy pattern, and the featherfin synodontis, the like big black catfish. They're a real cool combo that I think is really probably not the most colorful, but like really fun. You'll see the featherfins kind of like scooting around the bottom, like foraging in amongst the whatever decorations and that kind of thing. And so they work as like a cleanup crew, but like also you've got like your big kind of pet Oscar in the middle. That's like your wow factor. And then you look closer and like just watching featherfins do their work is just so interesting because they're so like, they just look like an alien basically. Like they've got all these random like tentacles basically, and like their eyes look like little creepy little eyes and like all this kind of thing. So I think that like you'd obviously want quite a big tank for that sort of situation, but I think that would be a really cool combo that a lot of people would enjoy. Like you get the coolness out, like the pet nature out of the Oscar, and then like the interest out of the featherfins, plus the like cleanup aspect of a big messy fish. So yeah.
Synodontis as a general rule are quite a weird looking fish. Face forward, basically, they're quite an odd looking catfish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. They're like just look like, I just always say they just look like aliens, man. Like they just look like they're from Mars.
The Oscars are a grumpy looking thing too, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of like your kind of pets, I guess, rather than like, it's not so much like your fish. It's more like, you know, you because everyone like names them and all this kind of thing, so you get that out of them. And then I do
like that about Oscars and bigger fish when you've only got 1 or 2, because you can identify them so easy, because you can name them and they can absolutely become a proper pet. I really do like that aspect of bigger fish.
You got that different personality and all that kind of thing as well.
Yeah. How many do Sinos work by themselves, or they need to be in a group, or how do they go? Or tank dependent?
I think they can be fine either way, but I'd recommend a group. I think they're much better in a group. But if you don't, when it comes to the featherfins, I think they're fine. This is like, I guess debatable, but like for the other synodontists, like your petricolas and that, they're more, you would definitely want a group. But the featherfins is a bit more like, I think, up for debate. But I definitely would recommend a group. Like I've got, in my big Oscar tank, I've got 6 maybe or something, and it's like just really fun to watch. Like, because even amongst them, they've got different personalities. Like,
Hmm.
so like if you're unaware, they often will swim upside down, so like their stomach facing the, top of the water or whatever. And like I've got this one in particular that's never facing the right way up. It's like always upside down. And then like I've got this one that's like the most territorial about this particular pipe, but like never leaves this pipe. And like you get all that kind of even amongst them, which is like, you'd look at them and you're like, yeah, fish is a fish. You get a bit more like individual personality in there out of them, which is quite cool, and quite different. So yeah. So those are mine. So
Cool.
yeah. What do you got next, Ryan?
Maybe guess
I'm running
some
a bit
stupid Africans with some stupid Africans.
I'm running a bit light because all of my suggestions are basically the same. They just put lots of cool African cichlids in the same tank.
Even though I've
What
got a combination of African cichlids written on my list.
Frontosa and Frontosa.
It's not that.
What about? Why don't you talk about like Petricola or Maltese or something with peacocks or haps or something? Then I'll give you an idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, so that's just the same variation or we've already talked about, but we've just added. Yeah, I think any African cichlid tank would do with the benefit with adding some Petricola, Maltese, cuckoos, because they just swim around. But again, you've got to put them in a good, decent group so they come out and hang around. And there's something different.
The good thing about them is like oftentimes people, you think when it comes to, big peacocks and haps and stuff, like that's all you can keep, but it is something different and like occupy a different level of the tank and all that. So it is something a little bit more of a variation on that, but still within the bounds of, making sure you've got good husbandry of the fish and all that kind of thing. So
yeah, they get along fine.
Yeah, they kind of just do their own thing, really. I don't know if I've ever seen them interact with each other, aside from the Maltese trying to demolish demolish the breeding behavior. But aside from that, they just completely ignore each other and just do their own thing. So, obviously they'll get them fine. And like the Synodonta species are fine with like a high pH and like hard water and everything like that. Obviously, originating from Tanganyika, so
Or some do.
they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the ones we're talking about at least.
Yeah.
But yeah,
most of my advice is around that.
Cool.
And stuff that I've seen in your shop, like I like your cherry barb and dwarf cichlid tank. I think that's real cool.
Sweet.
With
well,
cockatoos swimming around in it and stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool combo. Everyone seems to love that. So yeah. Oh, well, do you want to go then, Cam? I'm sure you've got more suggestions.
I do. White cloud minnows and hillstream loaches.
That's a good call.
Oh, yeah, and they're a temperate fish too, aren't they? Both of them.
Water parameters work really well together. They both like slightly cooler water or happy in cooler water. I personally really like the gold minnows. They just really pop. They're a great alternative to people that want to do goldfish. Got a small tank, want to do goldfish, hey, grab some gold minnows and maybe some hillstream loaches to go with it kind of scenario. You could set them up in, the nice round rocks for your hill streams to be enjoying, and the minnows will enjoy that as well. I just think they're a great wee combination there.
Yeah, would you need the heaters? Would you need a heater for the hill streams?
No, I think they can go cool enough to not have that. Most houses these days are warm enough to keep water temperature in 12, 13, 14 degrees for the best part, other than old shit boxes like you live in. So yeah, for the best part, I think you'll be okay without a heater.
Yeah, you'll be fine without a heater. But because the other thing I was going to say with that is like it would be quite cool to do like a little sort of river type setup where like maybe you had a bit more flow going than you would in a normal, standard aquarium. Like maybe you get a filter that's like a size or two bigger, or like a model or two bigger, or get a little power head going or something like that. And I think that'll be a real cool little effective like that's something that like, you know, Timmy down the street who's like his first tank, or like, I don't know, Aquascaping Pro, whatever his name is,
Ryan.
super serious person, would both really like get a lot out of that. Like it's a combination that's got a lot of like wiggle room in terms of like what you want to do with it. Like do
And a lot
something
of
super
character.
basic or do something super fancy, but
Yeah.
and character.
Yeah.
Even if you
Has-
started
has-
like,
Sorry, Karen.
I was gonna say, even if you like you said with like big round rocks, even if you tried to like grow a little bit of algae on them, like not a ton, but like intentionally grow a little bit of green spot
Green.
going, or like get some wispy like string algae or something like that. That would look quite cool and quite like realistic. Like I think you could do something really different, but really sort of subtle, and make like quite a cool tank out of it. So even like something like a Vallisneria or that, if
Yeah,
it's
that would
legal
be
where
really
you
well.
live,
Yeah.
just like, you know, bobbing around in the water like
You guys
like a
aren't allowed
proper
to have up
stream.
there anymore, are you?
Nah, don't think so. But obviously we get
Clearly
listeners
still around,
from all over the world. So if you're in Auckland, maybe like a Crypt Balancy might be a better
Is
substitute.
Sag still allowed? Dwarf Sag still allowed in Auckland, or they could kill that too?
I think that's
No.
off as well.
Yeah, no good.
There used to be the
No bueno.
alternative to Vallisneria, which was allowed, but
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can
if
do
you
like
take now.
I think
Twisted
you can do
Val.
like a
Can we
few.
do Twisted Val still?
Nah,
It's gone too. No, we used to allow
Yeah.
Twisted Val and Dwarf
Oh,
Sag.
You can do-
Cypress hyphaerii, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Now, that might be an option for a taller, straighter looking grass type
Yeah.
plant for you guys.
Yeah, you can also do a lot of the Helanthium species, I think.
Yeah, true.
Like the Helanthium latifolius as well, if you wanted something maybe a little bit shorter but a bit more dense. That might be a good option as well. Just to kind of like, just really like lean into the river aspect.
You could open
I think
top
would
it
be
as
a good
well
option.
quite nicely and have some wood coming out and possibly some foliage coming out of it as well quite easily.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little spider plant or something growing out the top would be a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rate mountain minnows. I think they're cool.
Yeah, stupidly.
When I was a kid, I filled my room up with fish tanks, and then my parents said I couldn't have any more heaters. So I set up a massive white-tailed mountain minnow tank filled with moss. It was a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot, filled with mountain minnows by my bed. And I used to lie in bed and you see just millions of babies swimming around with them and stuff. They're really cool fish.
They're really cool. They're so underrated.
Really easy to breed. Obviously, if there's hillstream loaches around, they'll probably eat the eggs, but you know, you might get some surviving. That would be a good option as well. If you're wanting something a little bit more interactive.
And whenever anyone says to me they want to have fish and I've got a small tank and I say I want to get my kids a goldfish, I say 2 options: get a heater, and it opens up your options a lot. Or if you don't want to get a heater, that's fine, but just get white-tailed mountain minnows. You know, that's all you want to get. You know, it's really it for me.
That's why I've got the small display of them in the shop for people that come in saying, "Oh, look, I've got a 20-litre tank and I want a goldfish. Don't stock goldfish, but how about these minnows? They're, you know, equally cool. Have a few of them. Beautiful coloration. Look at how they behave. You know, and I think it's a fantastic alternative to goldfish.
Would you like to know a little secret? Is
Always.
my best selling sort of community fish would be cherry barbs, and then very, very close behind that would be the gold white clouds. Like they're just such great little fish that, in my opinion, way more colorful than a goldfish and like brighter and like just generally a better fish for that sort of environment, even regardless of like the size and stuff, like just color and activity level and all this kind of thing. So like you would have to assume all these people who are buying them are, you know, the consensus is correct that it's a good choice. So it's a win-win situation.
They sell out ridiculously quickly for me as well, which I think is a positive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good thing to breed in a big outdoor pond over summer.
Yeah, just chuck a few in, and then by the end of summer you'll have
more than a few.
Too many to count.
Cool fish.
Good
Very
project.
cool
Good
little
project.
fish.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a good option, I think, for sure.
I've never kept the hill stream, but they look cool too.
Yeah, and the cool thing with them is you get all different ones, like spots and stripes, and like some with little bits of blue and stuff like that. So it's a good choice like that.
Yeah, they've got their whole geeky community around them too, just like everything else, don't they? Where they can identify like 500 different species or something, and we just get them imported generically and randomly.
Yeah, I think that's one that you can really sort of go down the rabbit hole with.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're into them, that's cool. Someone has to be into them, otherwise,
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. He runs into different things. It's cool.
Yeah,
I think there's a New
exactly.
Zealand. Someone created a New Zealand page for them. Actually, I don't know if it's been very active recently, but I joined that.
Oh yeah, you're a big fan?
Just see what's going on.
You're a top contributor, aren't you? You've got that badge.
No, not for that one. I don't think I posted it there.
What you got, Cam?
So my next one, I've got a couple, but the one I'm gonna select would be, what's it called? Neolamprologus brevis and Julie Dickfeldi. I think that's a really cool combo. It's obvious. It's got a soft spot in my heart because that was my first Tangyukin tank. Was that combo, but the colors really work well. You get real interesting behavior. Probably both of them will breed, all that kind of thing. So like the Julie's has like a lot of like black kind of, I guess, splotches with like blue around it, and then the brevis get like the big blue eyes and the yellow sort of midsection. I think they're a really cool combo that works really well. You don't need, the other good thing is you don't need a massive tank. Still, you'd want like maybe a 2-foot tank for them, but not anything. You don't need anything super large to be able to deal with them. And the other good thing as well is it's a really beginner friendly tank. Like the Dick Valdez and the Brevis are super peaceful. They'll be fine. Like you'll be okay with plants, like things like crypts and like your Velicinaria if you're allowed it where you live, and like Anubias and like all this kind of thing will be happy as and keep growing and all this kind of thing. So I think it's a really fun way to get started with, particularly with Tangyukins, but like Africans in general. So yeah, that's my next pick.
Yeah, I like them too. That's a good idea. I'd probably go bigger than a 2-foot tank, but yeah, you can go in a smaller tank. I agree.
Yeah. I would probably ideally go bigger, but I think you can do it in a 2-foot tank. It's just less, numbers.
Yeah, and you're right. Compared to Malariae or Transcriptus, Regani, or Natus, or the other ones that I've kept, the Feldy are the most peaceful Julie. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they don't seem to just bash the crap out of each other. So some of the other ones, when they pair off, the fry get to a certain stage, and usually the male will chase them off, and the female will think that the male's trying to eat them or beat them up, and then she'll bash her mate. And so you've got to really watch them and manage them, especially in a smaller tank.
Yeah. I find with the Dick Felder, like they have very minor squabbles, but nothing like it'll last 5 seconds and then they'll forget about it and go back to whatever they were doing. So
Being mates,
I think that makes them a lot more easy for someone who's, not so experienced keeping Africans, and it's a little bit easier to spot if something's going really wrong in that. So, and also they're probably the most brightly colorful, so it's like a win-win situation there.
Yep, agreed.
So yeah, so do that. That would be a fun little tank. That's got a bit of a soft spot for me. So yeah. Do we bother asking Ryan again, or you run out of ideas?
I was just gonna go with Tropheus and Lulupi or something. Something cool like it. Tropheus, Lulupi, Tropheus, Julichromis.
Yeah, no, it's a good choice. Do you want to discuss it more, or are you just going to say that and move on?
That's all. That's all.
Yeah, fair
Oh.
enough.
I've got one that is both going to make the master happy, but also make the master angry. So it's an African cichlid combination. It's one that I think needs to be in a bigger tank. It's bumblebees and electric yellows. I think they work really well because they both get to a good size. Got some facial expressions there. I think the yellow and the black work ridiculously well, and I absolutely love bumblebees. I know you guys think they're dumb, but I think they're some of the coolest Malawis around.
I think bumblebees are a cool fish. They are a cool fish, but in a mixed tank, they cause too many problems. And when I had a 10-inch male, he was just a monster.
They do get like I said, it needs to be a big tank.
But yeah, in a big tank with yellows, probably 100% fine. Yeah. And that would be quite cool.
The color combination works really well. They both get to a good size. I like how the bumblebees, depending on their mood, will go, different shades of black to grey to slightly stripy and stuff like that. I like to think that because they're called bumblebees and you put the yellows in there, it kind of really emphasizes that it's a bumblebee, the yellow and black combination. I think that's a really, really good combination of Malawis on a good sized tank and plenty of rock work.
Yeah, I guess.
I get it. I get it.
I think it's.
But yeah.
Yeah, I get it as well. I think it's fine. It's probably not my personal favorite, but I definitely understand what you're saying about the. Exactly. I definitely see what you're saying about the colors and that. I think they work very well together. And so long as you're on top of the aggression and everything like that, it won't be anything too crazy. So yeah, I think that's a good option.
I've got an empty 6-foot tank in the back room. I might fill it up and do bumblebees just to make you guys really, really happy with me. Yeah,
do it, man. I have no complaints.
The problem with them is it's like anything. You've got to be really careful where they go, because you don't want to breed them and sell them to some poor bugger with just a 4-foot tank and then have a male just take over and kill everything.
And they have the problem that I have with them. Spawns. Ginormous spawns as well. Like when they get big, they have huge numbers of fry.
Yeah. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the male that I had, but
they're cool. They're really cool fish.
He was a cool fish.
Big
just keep them all for yourself.
Yeah, cool fish. Yeah, that's my one.
Yeah, no, that's a good option. I guess it's my turn now. So my next one is, again, probably you want a bit bigger sort of tank for this idea, but I'm going to say green Severum and Geotapahos.
I had green Severum on my list.
Oh, nice. Did you have Tapahos as your other half of the combo? Or?
No, I had fancy Plecos.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
You just have one fish in a tank. That's cool. That's a dumb combo.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well,
sure.
You're out. You're cut.
You'd have more than one Severum, wouldn't you?
Yes.
But it's a Severum combo.
I think like having one Severum and like maybe like 6 Tapahos in like a 6-foot tank would be a really effective display. Like you don't need too much going on in terms of like driftwood or rocks or anything like that. Like a little bit will be good, but nothing major. And you'll find they'll be very peaceful with each other. Like they're both very peaceful American cichlids, but you'll find like the geos will just go around all the time, like sifting the sand and really sort of they will keep everything real clean. Like they're obviously not a cleaner fish in the way that like most people think of a cleaner fish, but they are very effective, but they look super cool, and like the colors would sort of complement the Severum really nicely.
They clean in the same way as a corridor does. They just keep stirring everything up so nothing gets the chance to settle and it gets pulled into your filters.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they eat stuff as well, so that's a win. But they're really cool fish, and I think they'll be a real cool combo for a bigger tank, of course, but really effective. Very peaceful, and I have this sort of idea of like having a bit of like overhanging driftwood and like some big pothos roots and stuff hanging in the tank, and I think that'll just look so nice.
Are you
and so
doing this
peaceful
tank
and easy.
with your ones you're growing out?
Not decided yet.
Would the
Potentially,
Severins
but
eat the
we'll see.
Potho's roots?
Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Because they're pretty content. I'm going to destroy everything that looks like a plant.
Yeah, I mean, people say that all the time, but I've never encountered that. Like, maybe they nibble on it a bit, but because like I've got Severums in my Oscar tank that has like you can't see the back glass because there's just pothos roots going across the whole back, and like
Oh, nice, cool.
they
Should be okay.
they don't really touch it. Like maybe they nibble the odd one, but not major. They're more sort of concerned about like weaving in between them and everything like that. So I wouldn't say it is a thing to consider, but I wouldn't say that would be too much of a danger. I think green Severums are really underrated, like in terms of color. Like when they, you wait for them to mature and grow and everything, and they're so pretty, and
Great
they work
alternative
really well together.
if you're not going with a plant tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, similar shape, all that kind of stuff.
And
Yeah.
I've seen I once picked up a bunch of tapahos for a friend of mine for Win, and I was like, "Damn, these things are cool. I want to keep them." They were like big, massive adult things, and looking in the buckets, there was just trailing fins everywhere. Like they were just amazing, and the colours on them were so cool in the buckets. I was like,
some
"Wow,
very nice
that's
geos
cool."
about. Some really nice geos about.
But when you see them little, like in the shops, they don't look like much. They just look like little things. But then when they get big and get coloured up and get the fins flying and stuff on them, I was like, wow, these things are
The
awesome.
problem is they're such slow growers. It takes a while to get there, but it's well worth it.
Totally agree. A nice fish, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that they're a great option.
Yeah, geos are cool in general.
Yeah, but you had your fancy plecos, so why don't you discuss why that's a good idea? See if you can convince me.
Fancy plecos and geos work really well.
It's a good option.
Yeah. Oh, just Severums and fancy plecos come from a very similar part of the world. Feeding requirements are similar, water requirements are similar. You can have your action up the top with a decent group of Severums, and as long as you set up your bottom really well with like decent wood tangles and stuff like that, you'll see your plecos. If you pick a slightly more ultraverted one like Sunshines or Gold Nuggets, you'll be more likely to see them. But yeah, and they obviously get a little bit bigger as well, which means you're more chance of seeing them.
Yeah, that is. So I make fun of you, but like Sunshines or like the leopard cactus and stuff are actually like really cool plecos.
Yeah.
And they get big too, so there's some of them.
Yeah. And they can work well with your more aggressive predator tanks if you want to go down that route as well. The cactus in particular, but yeah.
The cactus is basically like a cool looking common pleco, like size and behavior wise and everything like that. So that probably gives you a bit more options. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean that's a fine. I'll allow it. At least we're not talking about something stupid like a blue phantom or something that you'll never see.
Have you sold your blue phantom yet?
Nah, still there. I can't believe I got talked into buying fancy plecos. No one's even looked at it. It just sits behind the sponge filter all day. Yeah, I know.
I'm going to do a week because I've got one as well. It's due to be released next week. I'm going to do a push on it and see if I can sell mine before you sell yours, just for fun.
You probably can. But I guess we're not selling fancy plecos anymore.
Yeah, right. I've got one more on my list if we can continue on topic.
Yes, go ahead.
Cool. A pistogramma, particularly Cockatoides, with black neons, and probably in a black water setup. The black neons work really well with different fish on the pistogrammas. Whoa!
Well, Tonto's unhappy.
Two different levels of the aquarium. A pisto sort of down towards the bottom, black neons towards the top, which I think worked really well. Similar water requirements, similar feeding requirements. Neither are going to get in each other's way, and I just think they worked really well together.
Yeah, that black neon suggestion was a little bit out of nowhere. It was not what I was expecting, but now that you've said it and kind of explained it, I can definitely understand why. They're one that as well, like they don't look like much when you first get them, but give them a couple months to settle in and color up and get dominant and everything. And they're not colorful, but like they look cool, I guess, is the best way of explaining it.
I think they're another fish that don't get given what they want to really excel, like big, bright, colourful tanks, and they're not going to look quite that well. As soon as you put them in the subtly lit tank, not as much action going on, they just sort of come into their own.
Yeah, and I think you'd want again, like I probably sound like a broken record, but for this kind of tank especially, I think you'd want a big group, so you got like quite a bit going on, and then your pistos kind of has a bit of a look closer. Oh, what was that flash of color? Oh, that's real cool, kind of thing.
Also,
I think that'll work quite well.
Is the males put a bit of size in there. So you got a small fish, you got a big fish, and you could use any different pisto. The cockatoos are a good option because they get bigger and they get a bit more colourful.
Yeah,
but we go through stages, and we're in one of their pisto stages at the moment where there's a lot available. But they'll die off or disappear for a while, and then we'll be waiting for them to come back again when people want them.
I think also you can go a small tank with a 2-footer, or you can go bigger with a 3-footer with no real major issues as well. Depending on how you set the tank up. Again, lots of wood tangles work really, really well for pistos and for black neons. High growing plants go really well for the black neons as well. So I think it's a combination I've enjoyed before, and it's just a nice wee aquarium.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a cool idea for sure. It's something that I wouldn't have thought of for sure. Like, if you're asking me for options to go with the cockatoides, black neons wouldn't have been on the list, and vice versa. But now that you've said it, it's like, oh, maybe I should do this in my blackwater tank. I'm still planning in my head that I'm probably never going to do, but you never know.
Well, glow lights are another one that go quite well with them too, for the same reasoning. Through the blackwater,
Tetras or Danios?
Tetras. The color just pops
I suppose you could do Danios, but yeah. Glow light Tetras are actually, like, side note, they're probably like one of my favorite Tetras. Like, they're just really so cool.
Yeah.
But no one really, like, they're one that's like people start with it and then like after 6 months they get rid of them and never think about them again. But they're actually like so cool, like such cool color, like pretty much like I always mention stuff bulletproof, but like they're pretty much the most bulletproof. Like very easy to sex, all this, like, man. Yeah. This blackwater tank in my head is getting a lot of ideas. So watch this space.
The likes of black neons and glow lights, you kind of miss on that wow factor of color because there's like a stripe down them, and the rest is kind of nothing compared to like cardinals and neons where you got that full color. But I think that's part of the charm. Yeah, the subtle colorations, the glowing light, glowing eyes, and stuff through the black water, just little things like that really make them just cool fish.
I think blackwater is a bit more, or like this kind of tank in general is a bit more of like an interest tank rather than like a flashy tank. Like it seems like very much like a nerd's tank, in a good way. But I think it sounds very cool, and I've got some ideas churning over in my head.
Cool.
We'll have to see what we can do.
It's never a good idea, never a good thing when you're thinking, mate. Especially this early.
Yeah, no. There's steam pouring out of my ears. It's just not getting picked up by the cameras. It's overheating.
Yeah. All right, is that everyone's list?
Anyone have anything else that was...
That's me cooked.
Well, I could go on forever, but that's enough for now.
Lots of different combos. The hard part is that, I guess for me or for most of us, we don't actually go out and intentionally set up that many tanks. Like I've got a lot of tanks that are together because they work, not because they work for breeding or for raising fish, not because they look cool together, And you guys probably have the same. A lot of sales tanks. This can go with this, and this can go with this. Not this is going to look best with this, So it's interesting to actually think about it what would you
I
do?
suppose it's one of those ones where it's like whether you're setting up a tank and then just putting fish in it, or whether you're like setting up like, you know, a full aquarium, and like whether you like plan out all the different stocking or not. Is quite an interesting sort of conundrum, I guess.
Mm.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to us. If anyone still is listening to us, it was a little bit of a harder topic for me today because all I want to say is African cichlids. But we did get some different ideas out there that I actually agree with, apart from the bumblebee one, which is an African one. But anyway, that's a different story. So make sure you keep liking, subscribing, and the merch inquiries seem to have dwindled off as well. So we need this these ideas to take off so that the cams can design them and make them. I noticed Cam's actually wearing a cool Cichlid Life t-shirt that he ordered and didn't involve us in, even though we're the Cichlid guys. So that was a bit shitty of him. But anyway,
I'm gonna wear it every Wednesday from now on, just to rub it in.
just to annoy us that you didn't think about us.
So
So we'll talk to you guys again next week, and we don't know what the topic is because we're not that organised. So make sure you comment and actually let us know what you want to hear from us, because we've got lots of ideas, but we don't know if anyone's actually interested. So yeah, hit us up.
All right. Catch you guys later.
See you later.